Today, we're going to make an impossible triangle, all with the power of Affinity Designer for iPad. For this tutorial, we'll be working in a document that's 4,000 by 2,500 pixels. To begin, we'll make an equilateral triangle. To do this, we'll use the polygon tool, since the triangle tool makes isosceles triangles. If you want to learn more about this, you can check out the Two Triangle Tools lesson we have in our Beginner's Guide to Affinity Designer for iPad. I'll leave a link to the guide in the video description. With the polygon tool out, set the number of sides to 3, and then tap and drag while holding down one finger to make a perfect triangle. Then, place it in the center of the document. Then come to the Color Studio and swipe up on its fill color to remove it, and then use the Stroke Studio to increase the stroke width to 15 pixels. Next, we need to make 5 more triangles. To do this, we can use the Duplicate option in the Edit menu. Now, if we open the Layer Studio, we should have 6 triangles. We're going to move 3 of these triangles the exact same distance from the center. For our document size, moving each one by 200 pixels will work well. To move an object by a precise amount, make sure you have the Move tool out, and then come to the Transform Studio. Then, press on the X position and add 200 pixels to move our triangle to the right. Then, come back to the Layer Studio and select the second triangle from the top. Then, come back to the Transform Studio and subtract 200 pixels from its X position, moving it to the left. Then come to the Layer Studio once again and select the third triangle. Then come back to the Transform Studio and subtract 200 pixels from its Y position, moving the triangle up. Now we're going to combine the 3 triangles we repositioned with the 3 triangles that we didn't move. To do this, come to the Layer Studio. Then select one of the repositioned triangles and one of the unmoved triangles. Then come to the Edit menu and use the Subtract operation. Now the top triangle has been used to cut out part of the triangle that was underneath it. We'll repeat this process 2 more times. Just select one of the triangles that we moved and one of the triangles we didn't move, and use the Subtract operation. Now we have 3 new shapes. Next, we're going to make a triangle that's exactly the same size as the center triangle that our 3 shapes are making. There's a couple of ways to do this, but I'll show you one method. First, select all 3 shapes, and then duplicate them from the Edit menu. Then, with our duplicate shape selected, combine them into a single shape by using the Add operation. Then, select the other 3 layers and place them inside of a group to keep our Layer Studio organized. Then, if we turn off the group, we can see the shape we just made. To make it so we just have the triangle in the center, use the Node tool to delete the big triangle that's going around the one in the center. To do this, select the Shapes layer, get out the Node tool, and select a node. Then delete it by pressing on the trash can at the bottom left. Now all that we have left is the small triangle in the center. Next, we're going to repeat the same process that we used in the beginning of the video. First, get out the Move tool, and then duplicate the triangle 5 times so that we have 6 of them in total. Then, move 3 of the triangles from the Transform Studio. This time, move each triangle 100 pixels. Then, use the triangles we moved and the triangles we didn't move to make 3 brand new shapes with the subtract operation. Then, put all 3 shapes into a group and turn our first group back on. Now to finish the foundation of our impossible triangle, we just need to make 3 more lines. Before doing so though, it's helpful to have snapping turned on correctly. Make sure the magnet icon is checked at the bottom left, and then come to the document menu and choose snapping. Then make sure Snap to Layer Geometry is turned on. This allows us to snap to the vertices of our shapes. After turning this option on, go ahead and press Done. Now we'll get out the Pen tool. If you're new to this tool, I recommend you watch the Pen tool chapter of our Beginner's Guide to Affinity Designer, which you can find in the video description. From the context toolbar, we'll set the mode to Line Mode. Then select the larger group from the Layer Studio. Now we're going to make 3 lines, one for each of the diamond shapes on the triangle's corners. To do this, zoom in a little ways, and then place a node on top of each of these small vertices. Then repeat this process for the other 2 edges of the triangle. And if you missed a mark while making any of these lines, that's no problem at all. Just use the Node tool to snap the node into the correct position. Now group all of the lines from the Layer Studio, and then group all 3 of the groups. We're finally done laying the foundation for our impossible triangle. The next thing we're going to do is trace parts of our shape with the Pen tool in order to make our final design. To help with this part of the project, I've included a sample image that you can use as a reference. You can download the sample image in the video description. After downloading the image, come to the document menu and then use the Place Image option. As you can see from the sample image, our final design is made of 3 unique parts. We can make each one of these shapes by tracing over existing areas of our design. To do this, get out the Pen tool and switch to polygon mode. Then, trace over our existing design, matching each shape you draw to the reference image. And if you can't see the group's vertices, just select the group from the Layer Studio, and the vertices should appear again. Remember to zoom in to make sure you place your nodes in the correct spot. If you miss the mark though, just wait until you finish drawing a shape, and then use the Node tool to adjust it. When you finish the first shape, go ahead and give it a fill color so you can see it more easily. Then continue tracing the other two shapes using the exact same process. When you've finished all three shapes, go ahead and turn off the group and our sample image. Then select all three of our new shapes and remove their stroke. At this point, you might notice some nodes don't line up with each other. If that's the case, just use the node tool to reposition them. Now though, we can finally see our impossible triangle. However, we're not quite finished yet. We're still going to add shading to our triangle to make it look even more convincing. First, we want to give each shape the exact same color. Go ahead and give one of the shapes a color that you like, and then use that color for the other two shapes. To do this, select one of the other shapes, and then use the color picker from the Color Studio to sample the color you made. Then you can press on the sampled color to apply it to the shape you have selected. Then we'll give each shape a gradient. To do this, select the shape you want to apply a gradient to, and then get out the Fill tool. Then tap and drag to make a gradient. Then make a gradient for the other two shapes. This was a good start for giving our triangle shading, but we also need to work on shading the inner parts of the triangle. To do this, we're first going to make a big black rectangle that covers our entire design. Then duplicate the rectangle 2 times. Now make each rectangle a child layer to one of the shapes we've made. You can do this by dragging the rectangle's layer on top of another layer, and release your finger once you have a blue line running across the layer. Now each rectangle will only be visible where its parent layer is. Next, select one of the rectangles and get out the Transparency tool. Now we can click and drag to make a transparency gradient, allowing us to add some nice shading to our shape. If you want to lower the strength of the shading, select the black color stop and open the Color Studio. Then lower its opacity to whatever you like. We'll repeat this process for the other two rectangles. At this point, we're just about done. We just have a few more tweaks to make. First, go ahead and edit the transparency and color gradients to get them looking just the way you want. Next, we'll modify the color of our entire design. To do this, open the Adjustment Studio and apply an HSL adjustment. Now we can modify the hue and saturation of our design until we're perfectly satisfied with its color. Finally, I want to show you a cool trick for adding a stroke around our impossible triangle. If we selected all 3 shapes right now, and then tried giving them a stroke, it wouldn't look very good, so I'll undo that. Instead, select all 3 shapes and then duplicate them. Then, use the add operation to combine the 3 duplicate shapes together. Then, place the new shape at the bottom of the layer studio. Now we can give this shape a stroke, and it will look like our impossible triangle is the one getting the stroke. You may or may not want to apply an outer stroke to this particular design, but I thought it was a nice technique that you might enjoy. And with that, we're done with our impossible triangle. Thanks for watching, my friends, and I'll see you in the next Affinity Revolution tutorial.